Hello everyone, how are you? I hope everyone's doing really well today. So today we're going to talk about how come I'm constantly thinking about food? Why do I always have food on the brain? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today, and I appreciate your answers yesterday when I posted I was going live, guessing why we might be always thinking about food. And one lady mentioned that maybe you're pregnant. which is a good possibility, and that does happen when you get pregnant. I know for sure, but I'm definitely not now. Good morning, Angela. How are you today? So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. But I wanted to mention yesterday. I wanted to spotlight my nice warm water with my essential oils in there today. And today I decided to go with my peppermint. Always my peppermint. It helps to just give me some nice energy. Good morning, Christine. I'm glad you could pop on this morning. And along with that, I put in some lemon because lemon is great for digestion. And then yesterday, I forgot to tell you about the grapefruit. Not only is it good for your skin, especially for teens with acne, but because it's so good for the skin, ladies, it's great on cellulite too, okay? So you can just rub it in that particular area where you have cellulite. It's great to do like some dry brushing. I don't know if you've ever done that before, if you've ever even heard of it, but get yourself a nice dry brush and do that on your skin before you get in the shower. Then when you come out of the shower, put some of the, I'm losing my train of thought, the grapefruit oil on there on your skin, and it can really help smooth out that cellulite for you. So I thought that'd be something, us ladies would like to know. Good morning, Annie. How are you? But this morning I'm actually spotlighting fennel. I threw some fennel seed oil into my water this morning. Here's my fennel. And what I wanted to tell you about fennel, not only is it great for your digestion, gives you really healthy digestion, and helps with your boost your metabolism and your immune system and your circulatory and respiratory support, all these great things. But it's also great if you have a sweet tooth or if you're having a craving. Just put a couple drops under your tongue, or you can say maybe after dinner you've indulged a little bit too much. You could take a couple of drops in your water, or maybe even in your tea, and that can help you also fight the sweet tooth craving. If you're feeling like you're craving something or something sweet, and you really would prefer not to have something, then a couple of drops of fennel oil under the tongue or in some nice water or tea can help kick that craving for you. So I just wanted to spotlight that today because I decided to just put that in my water because I like the combination and I like the flavor that it brings between the peppermint, the lemon, and the fennel. But anyway, let's get back to where we're actually talking about why we're always thinking about food, okay? And let me just adjust myself here. Okay, so thoughts of food run through our head, right? Every single day. It has to, because we have to eat. We have to eat to live, right? And sometimes we don't want to. Good morning, Kelly. How are you? We feel like we can't live without the food either. Sometimes it kind of goes in that other direction. And obsessing and thinking about food 24/7 it's not good for our health, for one. We want food for fuel. That's the main reason we need to eat and to stay alive. So how do we just stop all this obsession about food all the time? Well, there's so many reasons why we're triggered to think about food, okay? There's our hormones, for one. They can, wreak havoc on us. There's advertising, right? Advertising can get kind of annoying if you're trying not to eat those foods. And, just certain habits we've formed along the way so far. So, Kelly, keto didn't work. It made me gain 4 pounds. Well, Kelly, the thing with keto, though, if you stop doing keto, because you've deprived yourself of carbs for whatever period of time, as soon as you start giving yourself that carb again, think of the word carbohydrate. Hydrate means water, right? So that water is going to fill right back into your body. So it's not necessarily that you gained like 4 pounds of fat, but you've gained water, okay? You're putting water back into your system. where you've drained it before. So it's a matter of finding that balance. That's why carbs are an essential part of our balanced meals and snacks. So you want to have your carbs, your fats, and your protein all the time, all together. That keeps you balanced, keeps your blood sugar balanced, and then you're not going to more likely get those spikes of your insulin and get those cravings. And then everything stays nice and balanced where it needs to be. That's why I don't believe in eliminating any food group whatsoever. It should all be on the table at all times. So a lot of times with the food though, especially for us women, we're thinking about food because we're seeking comfort sometimes from an emotion, maybe a negative emotion that we're feeling, maybe something that's overwhelming, right? And the food tends to numb us out, or we use it as a crutch. And that only creates that emotional dependence on the food that much more, right? Kelly, all the pills do is cleanse your bowels. Yes, a lot of times that's the weight that you're losing, right? But we want to lose overall healthy weight, right? Good morning, Jill. How are you? So when we use food as a coping mechanism, what's happening, this is why we're thinking about food all the time. This is the real answer here. Our brains, it has to do with our brain. Our brain is forming these neural pathways, and it's forming all of these food thoughts, right? And especially when we're feeling any kind of emotion, it starts forming these food thoughts. And these food thoughts can be formed from either negative or positive emotions, okay? It's not always a negative emotion that we want to eat. Sometimes it's a positive emotion that we want to eat. And this is because we've just been conditioned. We've been conditioned with food since we were little babies, right? And as infants, we felt an emotion. Babies feel emotions, and as that infant, you feel an emotion, but you didn't quite know what to do with it. So what does a baby do? They cry. If they're feeling something uncomfortable, they will cry, right? And as parents, it's up to us to figure it out, to figure out why. Why are they crying? Well, with that emotion, for a little one like that, it can be scary. That, if you're not understanding why you're feeling that, and then you just cry. Well, the thing is, like, as parents, we have to figure out what's going on, but a lot of times we're just like, oh, they must be hungry, right? So then we give them a bottle, we give them something to eat, and that soothes them, right? We give them some nice warm milk. It's comforting to them. And then later on, as we start to grow older, we go to the doctors. And at the doctor's office, they give you a lollipop, right? They give you a lollipop, and then we celebrate with food too. Like, we celebrate birthdays with food, with cake, things like that. So it's only natural to carry those habits of emotional eating into our adult life, okay? Because that's how, almost like we were born and bred, to think that way. And we formed those habits, not on our own, but they were, put on us. So, but that's what we've learned. That's the way we've learned. So now we've had those habits for, since day one. So we get so caught up now in our daily lives. Now we're adults. We're getting so caught up in our daily lives that we don't always pick up on those physical hunger cues because we're so busy. And we've been socially conditioned too to eat only at certain times, right? We eat by the clock a lot of times, or if you're at work, you can only eat at a certain time according to your work schedule. But our bodies don't work like that. When we ignore those feelings of hunger, our body's telling us something, it's sending us that hunger signal, those food thoughts are going to become louder and louder before we know it, if we're ignoring it or overriding it, okay? And then when you do that, now what happens? Now you just start daydreaming about your favorite comfort foods, right? Has that happened? I mean, I know what happens. It happens to me. It still happens if I get too hungry, right? If we get past that first feelings of hunger, you start to get a little ravenous, and now just everything sounds good, right? So in order to stop thinking about food, we first need to bring that awareness, okay? Bring that awareness to the fact that you're thinking about food, all right? And it's not always easy, as these thoughts can get buried. They get buried under other thoughts, we keep burying them. We get busy, and we just keep running. Those thoughts will just keep running through our mind as we're just running through our day. And if we do start recognizing those thoughts, then we can ask ourselves, okay, am I actually hungry, or is there something else I'm feeling here? And if the food thoughts are coming from your hunger, then make sure to find something that's really filling for you to eat, and notice how the thoughts and cravings for food are going to start to go away. Because if you're not giving something, like say you're just feeling really super hungry, or you're starting to feel that hunger, I should say, and you're like, all right, I'm going to give myself something to eat now, but it was something just really small, just something that wasn't that filling or satisfying to you, well, what's going to happen at that point? You're going to keep looking for food. Your food thoughts are not going to go away because it wasn't enough. It wasn't filling enough, all right? It wasn't fueling your body enough for its own energy needs, basically, is what was happening. So when I say you need to find something that's filling, you need to eat until you're full. Not stuffed to where you need to unbutton your pants, but you want to be full. You want to fill yourself up so that you're not still constantly having those thoughts of food, and that you can go another couple hours before you really need to eat again, before that true hunger comes on again, okay? So let me know if you have any questions as I go along, and if you pop on, say hello. I'd love to know that you're here. So like I said, you want to be able to give yourself enough food, okay? Because one of the first things you need to do in order to stop thinking about that food all day is just making sure you're giving yourself enough, okay? So when we think about food, that's actually a sign of hunger. That is that survival mechanism kicking in. Good morning, Angela. How are you? Thanks for coming on. So if you are not giving yourself enough food, obviously you're going to still think about it, right? It makes sense. So I recommend getting rid of those limitations that you've set for yourself around food, whether it's counting calories or counting points or macros or whatever. And the only thing that can really tell us our own true needs is our own body. Our body is going to send us signals. It's sending us signals all day long. It's a matter of whether we're listening to them or not. So give your body permission to eat all the foods, and I mean all the foods, okay? So this is another way to really help you stop thinking about the foods, is if you're going to actually give yourself permission to eat anything. So that's even the cookies or the ice cream or the burgers or the fries or the chips or the chocolate or whatever you want to eat, whatever you're feeling like, all of it, okay? Because when we tell our bodies that we can't have something, we want it even more, right? That's how our bodies work. That's how our body and brain connect. And they're like, oh, I can't have it. I can't stop thinking about it. But when we fixate on it, right? We have to break those food rules that we can't eat, like the bad foods, for us to be able to stop thinking about food so much. Okay? Does that make sense for you? Because persistent thoughts about food, they're usually caused by that sense of scarcity. When you're thinking that you're not going to be able to have it again for so long. Like say on the weekend when you have something that you wouldn't normally have during the week, and then you go crazy on it because you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to have it again for a whole nother week, because I've done that. I've done it myself, and a week to me was a long time, and I'd just go nuts. I'd go crazy until, I felt so uncomfortable. It wasn't a good feeling. And then I couldn't sleep well that night, and I just tossed and turned, and I was hot and thirsty, and it was gross. It was just not a good feeling. But I went through that for a long time, and I had that mentality. But as soon as you tell yourself that, you know what, I can have this food anytime, all of a sudden that scarcity isn't there, and I don't go crazy anymore at all. And I always honor my hunger and my fullness now, so that I can have whatever it is that I want to have. And that can take some practice, but it's eventually you will get there, because I did. If I did, you can. So say, for example, like if you decide to stop eating sweets, okay? Or a cookie is no longer just a cookie. It's this forbidden pleasure for you. And as soon as it's not allowed, it becomes that precious item. It's so precious to you. And we have to remember, okay, we were all teenagers at some point, right? Sometimes some of us would like to forget. But if your parents said that you weren't allowed to go out with this certain particular guy, this long-haired tattooed guy, all right? then that made him just irresistible to you. You wanted to go out with him that much more. You wanted to rebel, right? Or when someone leaves like warm chocolate chip cookies on the table in front of you, right near you, you can smell them for one, right? And they smell so irresistible. And it's like the cookies are talking to you. So if you make the decision to not eat the sweets or to not eat that cookie, then that's just making that cookie go from ordinary to absolutely irresistible. See that difference there, that little shift? So how do you actually stop creating this feeling that the cookie is just so irresistible? Well, you have to give yourself that full permission to eat, okay? A full head-on permission. We have to do it. We have to get past it. It can be really, really difficult. I will not deny that. It can be difficult. But that's what I coach my clients through. That's why I'm there when they're like, oh, yeah, you know what? I just want to eat the whole bag. Okay, do it. Eat the whole bag. It's okay. Because eventually you're not going to want it anymore. It might take you a week. It might take you 2. It might take you 3. That's okay. You're going to get to a point where all of a sudden, all these foods are just the same to you. We want to create that neutrality with the food. They're all neutral. They're all the same. Food is food. Okay? That's where the diet industry has put all these labels like good and bad. And then they make you feel good and bad. So we want to get rid of all of that. It's no fun. It's not a fun way to live. It's stressful. I lived it. I was miserable. So let's stop creating, putting these foods on like this hierarchy, right? Or up on that pedestal. We want to take them down off that pedestal. They don't belong there. They're all the same, right? So once you give yourself that full permission to eat, like there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no drama. And not just once, and not just for today, and not just for the cookie, okay? For everything. So I hope that makes sense for you. Please let me know if you have any questions. And then another thing that is really, really important is you have to learn to love your body. A lot of us are so critical, like so critical every time we look in the mirror or we think about ourselves, and we don't speak very nicely to ourselves a lot of the times. I know it's true, okay? So this one is just really, really important because you need to learn to love your body and love it as it is. Having a better body image, it can make such a difference for you. And honestly, it's probably one of the hardest things to do. And it's one of the harder things I think I coach my clients through in the process of having this healthy relationship with food and your body. And this is because the root of our obsession with food, it tends to start from how we feel about ourselves, right? And personally, I believe that for you to have this healthy relationship with food, you have to have a healthy relationship with what you're putting it into, okay? I mean, that makes sense, right? Right? You guys, are you resonating? Does this make sense for you? Let me know if this is good. I'm on track and I know what I'm talking about, or saying, what are you talking about? I have no idea. Let me know if this resonates for you. So when you're thinking about food, let's recognize that it's only a thought, right? It's just a thought, and that you don't need to attach yourself to it. So by not attaching yourself to that food thought, that's going to actually help you to be able to ignore that urge to eat, all right? And unless you're truly physically hungry, of course that's important to pay attention to, this signal, and you have to eat something at that point, if you're really truly physically hungry, and don't deny that. Eat something, please. Christine, yes, and it's hard. It is hard, Christine, absolutely. And that's why we're working through it right now. And it's not something, if it was easy, it would be like, I would just tell you to do, one particular thing to practice, and boom, you'd be done, good to go. And you wouldn't need the coaching or the guidance or, someone to help you along the way. If it was just easy. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it, right? There'd be no $80 billion diet industry. There'd be no coaches. It's definitely something that's hard, but with practice, like with anything, with practice, you're going to get better at it. Sometimes it takes a little longer than what we have in our mind as a time frame, but that's being a little hard on ourselves again. All right, we need to cut ourselves some slack and realize that just the fact that you're trying is a win. Just the fact that you're putting yourself out there and you're trying every single day. Take all those small little wins, because all those small wins are what is going to add up to that big change in the end. That's all the practice along the way that gets you there to where it's just all of a sudden you're doing all of this without thinking about it. Okay, so I want you to pause and take a break from some of the things that, we live these busy lives. Some of the things that you feel you have to get done, all right? I know sometimes I feel like I have a lot on my plate and I can't even get everything done in the day that I need to get done, but I need to come to terms with the fact that that's okay, right? Otherwise, I'm going to continue to stress about it, and stress on your body, it affects everything. It affects your sleep, it affects your weight, it affects your hunger. It affects so much of your body and your overall health. So sometimes you think about food, when you're right in the middle of, say, I don't know, some kind of tough job. You're going at it. You're in the middle of this job and you really need a break. You really want a break. And in that case, you're not actually hungry, but you're going to find it really something that's going to benefit you to just pause and take that break, right? Or you think about food to put off doing what you really need to get done, that you really probably don't want to do. And this is another way that our mind will kind of trick us into thinking that it's time to eat, okay? But it's not like true physical hunger. So in that case, you'd want to focus more on, okay, why do I need to get this particular task done? And how good is it actually going to feel once I've got that done, okay? It's about not stressing so much and feeling good in our bodies. So in the short term, you can stop thinking about food, by directing all of your thoughts to something else, all right? And then in the long run, the most significant transformation is going to happen when you actually give yourself that full permission to eat anything you want. And the reason why this will happen for you, this is because that mindset shift that happens, it makes thinking about food so much less exciting, okay? And the way out of that scarcity mindset, is that full permission to eat whatever you want, whenever you're hungry. Like I said, not just today, but every day. And I know can seem like a pretty wild concept to a lot of you. And it is crazy, because when you're on a diet, you're like, no way, I can't eat this food. It's not on my diet. It doesn't allow it. It won't fit in my points. It won't fit my macros. I'll gain weight. The scale's going to go up. All of those thoughts that are running through your head, all those voices, that's diet mentality. And within intuitive eating, the very first principle teaches you how to get rid of that diet mentality. And even that takes practice. Every single step, all 10 steps of intuitive eating take practice. But you can get there, because it's a nice freeing feeling and much less stressful way to live and eat and have that nice healthy relationship with food and your body. Okay? Because the magic happens when you have that permission to eat whatever you want, and you know that you always will. The cookie stops being so special. I know for myself, every time I go to eat, or I think, okay, what do I feel like? It's like, oh, this is so nice. I don't have to weigh or measure anything, and I can just, whatever I'm feeling like. And granted, I'm to the point now where I choose more nourishing foods, more nutrient-dense foods, just because that's what my body's craving now at this point. And to have anything else, I just don't feel that good. And I want to feel good, and I want to have the energy. And sometimes, I will feel like even last night after dinner, I turned to my husband, I said, a brownie sounds good right now. I could really go for a brownie. And he was like, yeah, like a fudgy one? I'm like, yeah, exactly. One of those. Sounds really good. Haven't had one forever. I don't know why. It just popped into my head. Don't have that kind of stuff very often. But now that the thought's in my head, now I'm probably going to make some brownies. But you know what? I'll have one. And they'll probably sit on the counter. And you know what? Some of them will probably go bad because we don't go crazy on them. I just want one. That's it. That's what I'm feeling like. and that's what you can get to. You get to that point because it doesn't have, they're not sitting on a pedestal for me, right? They just sounded good, and there's that satisfaction factor. Now I have to have it so that I can feel satisfied. And once you feel satisfied too, you're good. You're not continually searching out for other foods all the time. Okay, that's why intuitive eating is so amazing. It's so magical. I absolutely love it. And you can get to that point as well. It takes time. I didn't do it overnight. I certainly didn't do it overnight. I still have some voices in my head. But I fight those voices because I kick them to the side. And I'm like, nope, you're not going to be there. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. So that way you can get to whatever you want. And no single cookie will just occupy your mind for like all these different like all day long throughout the day. And you'll probably be surprised at how few cookies you actually want when you do have them, or give yourself that full permission to have them once you truly realize that they're just always available. So let me know if you have any questions about everything that I just discussed, all the content I just went over. Let me know if you have any questions about that, or if you'd like to learn more about intuitive eating and how maybe you can transition from getting out of your diet that you're in and just becoming more of an intuitive eater, or even if you're not on a diet and if you just want to learn how to eat intuitively, I can help you with that. So let me know, and if there's no other questions at the moment, I'm going to hop off. But I hope everyone has a beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.